Well, welcome to our Post Intuit Connect App Academy. Excited that you're here. We have a great lineup of presenters today. Today, we also have our guest host today, Murph. He will be here sharing his input, insights, and helping answer any questions as well. All right. Next up, Dan from Stanford Tax. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Hi, how's it going? Thanks
Good.
for having me. I'm happy to be here today. I'll be talking about Stanford Tax and I'll be showing you a demo. Um, I think the best way for all of you to see what we do is to see it in action. So in just a minute, I'll share my screen and we'll do that. I just want to say a few words before I share my screen. So at Stanford Tax, we help firms to collect tax information from their clients in a way that is much simpler and much easier for them and for their clients. One of the things that we keep hearing over and over and over and over again from firms is how frustrating it is to sit down and start working on a client's return only to realize that not all of the information that's needed to prepare the return is there in front of them. And figuring out what's missing is a pain, but also chasing clients to provide that information, that's an even bigger pain. And at Stanford Tax, we solve that. And I'm going to share my screen and I'll talk about how we solve that, and we'll see it all work. Let me just make this bigger here.
I'm just going to butt in and say I
Yeah.
had that problem all the time when I did tax, and I only had myself. Never mind.
Well, I wish you had us, but hopefully other people today will at least leverage the technology that exists today to help and automate this. So how does Stanford Tax work? How do we do it? How do we help you to collect information in a way where you're not going to be left missing information? So the way that we do it is we integrate with your tax filing software, and we use the prior year tax information of each client in the tax software to generate personalized questionnaires and checklists for each of your clients. And then once they submit that questionnaire, you get a PDF workpaper that has all of the information that you need in order to prepare the return. And let's actually see how it works. So the first part of this demo is I'll show you how easy it is to add clients in from your tax filing software, and that's the first step. That's how the integration works, is you add the clients directly in from your tax software. And here on the screen, you'll see the different software that we work with: CCH Access, ProSystem, Drake, Lacert, ProSeries, UltraTax, ProConnect, and we're adding ATX in the coming months as well. For this demo, I'll select Lacert. And the way the integration works is you get the backup file from your tax filing software and drag and drop it in. So I have a backup file from Lacert. I'll drag and drop that in. We have about 10 clients in this sample backup. I'll import all of them. And what Stanford Tax is doing now is it's generating those questionnaires for each of these clients. And it takes just a few seconds, so we're already done here. And the next part of the demo, we'll take a look at what one of these questionnaires looks like. You can easily preview a questionnaire after you import the clients, but for this demo, what we'll do is we'll actually go ahead and we'll send a questionnaire to one of our sample clients here, John and Julie Doe. And there's two ways to send the questionnaire. You can copy a shareable link and send it to them off of Stanford Tax via email or via your portal, or you can have Stanford Tax send it on your behalf just by clicking this send button here. And you'll see there's a template here that you can customize, and the emails get pulled in from your tax software, and you can add emails, you can remove emails, and then you can send it over. If you send it through Stanford Tax, it'll be white labeled with your firm name and logo. And by the way, if you do send it through Stanford Tax, you could obviously send it in bulk as well. But for this demo, we'll just, we sent it to John Doe. We'll go into John's inbox and we'll see what that questionnaire looks like from his perspective. And then once we do that, then we'll shift the conversation, the demo, back to your perspective as the firm, and we'll take a look at what you get on your end, which is that work paper that Stanford Tax automatically generates from the information that the client provides. So let me open the email and we'll view the questionnaire. And John will have to verify their email to get in. There's no usernames or passwords, but they will have to verify their email. We do that for security reasons. And I'll click verify here. And so now we're John Doe. And before we click this button to enter the questionnaire, I just want to say a few things about what you see here on the screen. These are items that were, this is a list that was generated by Stanford Tax for this client, which shows the items that are expected of John and his wife, Julie Doe. And they'll be asked to provide this during the questionnaire. And clients really love, coming in here and seeing this personalized list, because they feel as if though you went in and set this up for them and took the time to personalize their experience. And the completion rates of the Stanford Tax questionnaires are very high. And we think that this personalization is a big reason for that, because when a client, sees this and feels like you put time towards them, they'll feel more obligated to go forward, to go through and not just to ignore what it is that you sent them. So let's enter the questionnaire here. Let me zoom out here so you can see everything. The questionnaire has 3 sections: basic info, income, deductions, and credits. The basic info section will be pre-filled from your tax software. As you can see here, it's pre-filled. If something changed, if they're no longer a software engineer, if they became a commercial pilot, they can let you know. Contact info will be pre-populated. Stanford Tax will ask about things that commonly change, like if they move to a new address, we'll say yes. We'll say that we moved to Florida, sure. And it'll ask follow-up questions. This will be pre-populated, marital status pre-populated, spouse pre-populated, dependents pre-populated, first dependent, second dependent. And now we're done with the basic info section. And if we go back here to the number of dependents and pretend like we had a newborn and up that to 3, of course, Stanford Tax will now ask about the 3rd dependent. So now we're done with the basic info section and we're at the income section, and you'll notice that there's a Post-it note up here. These notes are auto-generated by Stanford Tax, and they're personalized based on the information from the prior year. And in this case, the note says, John, we suggested some categories for you, and you'll see that some of the categories are suggested, like job income and interest income. And I'll select one more. I'll select rental properties. And I think that'll be good for this demo. I will scroll down though, just so you could see, all the other categories. The questionnaire is very comprehensive, but the nice thing is that most clients will see just a small fraction of the questions because it skips over anything that's not relevant. So let's go forward. Job income, W-2s, and here's another note showing the W-2s from the prior year. And I have a W-2 here. I'll drag it in. Go next. Interest income, 1099 in, and you'll see the note shows the one from the prior year, and I'll upload the one from this year. Rental properties, this will be pre-populated from the tax software. So we have 2 from last year. I'll decrease that to 1 so that we can just go through this faster. Property will be pre-populated, type of property, P&L. We asked that for Schedule C, E, and F, because then we could skip over some of the income and expenses if they do have it. But for this demo, we'll pretend like there's no P&L, and we'll say that we had $29,000 in rental income. And you'll see here's the note showing what it was last year. And I'll add a note and say this includes $2,000 in security deposits. And I'll fly through the rest of this questionnaire because I want to get to the work paper. The work paper is really the my favorite part. So let's just quickly go through this. This is the last question of the income section, and now we're at the deduction section. Again, very comprehensive. I'm not going to select any. We're just going to fly right to the end. And we'll say note here to all these due diligence, digital assets, and all this good stuff the IRS wants us to ask. We'll go to the very end. And so now we're at the last question of the questionnaire. And Stanford Tax is telling the client, you're almost done, but you're still missing some items. Stanford Tax knows what's missing. And if I try to submit this, Stanford Tax is not going to let me because, we want the client to give a reason if they're going to submit this with missing information. I mean, sometimes a K1 or something like that will come much later. And so we're not going to completely prevent the client from submitting it, but we will ask them to give a reason. And it's very easy for the client to do that. Like here with the W-2, they could say, I left this job, or I closed this account with the 1099 divs, or I'm still waiting to receive it, or here with the 1099-R, I didn't take distributions, or I rolled over funds, or I didn't contribute this year. We'll just do a bunch of it's just childcare, no longer in childcare. So now we could submit it. And now we've submitted the questionnaire and we can finally get to the work paper. So this is the part I've been waiting for. So you'll see the questionnaire has been submitted here. And now when we go in, we can talk now about the work paper. What is this work paper? So if we look here at the bookmarks, you'll see what the work paper is comprised of. There's a checklist, which is the first document of the work paper, which is what we see here. I'll talk about it in just a second. There's the organizer. This is the document where all the answers from the questionnaire gets put into this organizer. I'll talk about this in just a moment as well. And then we have the documents that the client uploaded, which are these documents here. Now, let me go back to the checklist. You'll notice that these three items, W-2, 1099, and rental income, are marked completed. Stanford Tax marks the items completed automatically as the client goes through the questionnaire. And let's say, well, before I get into that, the items that have not been completed, if we zoom in here, you'll see the reason shows up right in the checklist. So that avoids a lot of that back and forth that's otherwise necessary. If a W-2 is missing and you have to verify with the client, what's the reason it's missing? With Stanford Tax, it'll be right here in front of you on the checklist. Now, let's say the client now got their 1099 divs and their 1099-Rs, and they didn't submit it when they filled out the questionnaire, and instead they emailed it to you or they dropped it at your office. And that's pretty annoying because we want everything to be in the work paper. The whole idea of this work paper is that everything is centralized and we have this document with everything that you need from this client. Well, Stanford Tax makes it very, very easy to get information, to get the documents into the work paper. So if the client didn't give it to you through Stanford Tax, no worries. You can just take the documents, and I have some sample documents here. We'll pretend that these are actually the two 1099-Rs and the two 1099 divs that we see in the checklist here. And all you have to do to get the documents into the work paper is take the documents and drag them right on top of the work paper. And if you look at the left sidebar, you'll notice the documents are being processed, and Stanford Tax is going to identify what are these documents, and it's going to categorize them, name them, and mark them off in the checklist if they're relevant to any of the checklist items. And that's what we're seeing happening right here. And it's already done without even giving me a chance to to finish my words. But you'll notice that the 1099 divs and the 1099-Rs were marked completed, and the documents were renamed here. If you remember that the documents were named, in we're not named the way that the bookmarks appear here. So that really helps, to keep, for you to get a work paper that'll be easy for you to jump around and to locate things and to know what's going on. Just a couple of more things I want to say, and then we'll open it up to questions. It's very easy to get the work paper off of Stanford Tax. In fact, most firms will do that. They'll download the work paper. And the reason is that within Stanford Tax, even though you could see all the documents within Stanford Tax, we don't yet have the ability to annotate the documents and to do some of the things that you might want to do in let's say an Adobe or a SurePrep or something like that. So we do let you download the work paper. All you have to do is click the download button, and you can decide if you want to remove any of the documents. Most firms will just download all the documents, but you could, if you don't want, let's say, the checklist to be in there, you could uncheck it, download the work paper, and then you can open that up in Adobe or however it is that you want to open that up. You could also download a zip file, by the way, if you want the documents to be, downloaded as separate files. But for this demo, I'll just open this up in Adobe and show you that concatenated bookmarked PDF. Let me close the tabs here and open up the bookmarks. This is a native PDF. This organizer, by the way, is not the organizer from your tax software. We don't like the organizers from any of the tax software. They're not fillable. They're long. They're really not that great. Here you're getting a native PDF that's fillable. And the fact that it's fillable, or the fact that it's a native PDF rather, allows us to do some neat things. Like, for example, you'll notice some of the fields are highlighted in yellow. And you might already have figured out why they're highlighted in yellow. They're highlighted in yellow because these are items that the client updated compared to the prior year, and Stanford Tax knows what information has changed compared to the prior year using the information from the, using the integration, using the information from the backup file that you upload. Just a couple of just like two more things about the work paper, and then we'll move over to questions. So if I expand the organizer bookmarks here, you'll see the different pages of the organizer, and I'll jump over to the rental property worksheet and I'll zoom in here. You'll notice, first of all, that the prior year numbers show up in the work paper. Again, that's one of the benefits of the integration with your tax software, is that we get the prior year numbers in there. And then the last thing that I want to mention is, if I hover over this chat bubble here, you'll notice it says this includes $2,000 in security deposits. And that's the client note that we left as we were filling out that questionnaire. And it's not by coincidence that it's showing up here right by the rental income, because that's where the client left the note. And, the client can leave many, many notes throughout the questionnaire. But the nice thing about what Stanford Tax does is it puts it into the appropriate place within the organizer. So it's not by coincidence that this particular note is showing up here on the rental property worksheet. I've thrown a lot of information your way. Those are the core, the main features that I wanted to go over. I think what I'll do now is I'll open it up. I'll open it up for questions.
So Dan, let me ask you before we go to any other questions. Y'all are importing data from a number of tax software applications, but once you have that data and you've garnered it all and you've put it into your organizer, is there a way for it to flow back into the tax software for the current year?
That's probably our, I'm smiling because it's because we hear that question all the time, but the nice thing, the exciting thing is that we're working on that. It's not going to be available for this coming tax season, but it will be in the future.
We do have well, same person. I use Stanford Tax and I love it. And they also had a question. Will you integrate with Tax Act Professional soon?
With the question was if we will integrate with Tax Act, right?
Yes.
So we don't have plans to integrate with Tax Act, but I think this is a good opportunity for me to mention that you could actually use Stanford Tax without an integration. It does require you to add those checklist items, manually. But if I share my screen here, for those of you who are not using this, this one of the software that we integrate with, if I click Add Clients here, and I click Returning Clients, and then I click Other Software, I can still add clients in, right? I can come here and add a client, and here I'll add in, let's add in James Doe. And I just want to show you how you would use it. And this is also relevant for like using it with new clients. Like if you do use one of our integrated softwares, but you want to use it with a new client, this is relevant as well. So we just created James Doe, and if I go into James Doe's work paper, you'll notice their checklist is empty. But you do have the option to add checklist items if they, you do that initial interview with them. They tell you that they have they work at Amazon, and they tell you that they have, a 1099 div or a bank account at Chase, right? You can add those items. And now if we preview the questionnaire for this client, we see here the same personalization that we got from the tax software integration. We'll get that here as well. And if we enter the questionnaire, you'll notice these fields are empty because we didn't add it from the tax software. But if I come here to the client's organizer, and I fill in, let's say, this client tells me he's a math teacher, and I know, he, during the initial interview, he tells me his birthday, tells me his social security number, and all that, right? Now, when we go now if I come here, you'll notice that shows up here. The date of birth is here. The occupation is here. So you could still use it. And by the way, if I come to the income section, those suggested categories are still suggested, because what we do is whatever it is that you add to the checklist, we use this information to suggest the item. So again, it does require you to do the work manually in terms of adding those items, but you still could use Stanford Tax and give a personalized experience to your clients.
Awesome. Are you charged when you send the organizer or when they send it back completed?
Great question. So our pricing is per client. Let me just share my screen and come to the pricing page here. It's per client. We only count clients that actually use the questionnaire. And to answer your question, it starts counting once a document is uploaded. So you could send it to them, you could import them from your tax software, they could even open it. If they don't upload at least one document, it's not going to count. You do get 5 for free. You can create your account very easily. No, you don't even need to, there's no training, you don't need to book any onboarding or any call or anything like that. Just create your free account and import clients in. The price, depends how many clients you use it with. But it's anywhere from $18 to $12, depending on the number of clients.
And how do we reuse 2023 information for 2024 if they are a returning client that used this questionnaire in prior years?
So each year, you'll start the year by coming here and going through the flow of adding clients from your tax software. You will just add the new backup file every year from your tax software. We do have a way to roll over information, but if you uploading the backup file is the best way to do it, because you'll have the most complete information from there. So that's how we recommend firms to do it.
Okay, that's it for questions. I'm going to launch your poll, Dan.
Okay.
see what everybody is using for tax software. Pretty much a little bit of everything except for Pro Series and ATX. The most is Other or Pro Connect.
Got it.
And I'll share the results so you can see them. And I can also send this as well.
Sounds good. Yeah, I would be curious what falls into the other.
Yeah,
Nice.
if you want to put that in the Q&A, you can certainly do that. Let us know what you're using for Other.
Are there any other questions?
Someone said they use Tax Act. And then another person said Alt Pro, OLT Pro.
I'm
right.
surprised out of this audience that we didn't get a lot of TurboTaxers. So
Oh, Sharon says, I don't do taxes. Good for you. I don't do taxes either.
still looks like it might be a good way to organize your client data in regards to just having good records for your accounting clients or bookkeeping clients. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Bye,
You too.
everyone.
Bye-bye.